Imagine leaving home at 21, thinking you'll be gone for a year or two, and not returning for nearly 30. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's exactly what one man did, becoming arguably the greatest traveler in history. His name was Ibn Battuta, and his story is absolutely epic. So, who was this guy? Born in Tangier, Morocco, in 1304, Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Lavadi al-Tanji ibn Battuta, let's just call him Ibn Battuta, was a young scholar from a family of legal experts. In 1325, at the age of 21, he set out on his Hajj, the traditional pilgrimage to Mecca. This was a common journey for Muslims, but for Ibn Battuta, it was just the beginning. His initial trip was planned to take 16 months. It ended up taking 24 years. His first journey took him across North Africa. He traveled by land, joining caravans to stay safe from bandits. Imagine dusty roads, bustling marketplaces, and nights spent under the stars. He passed through Alexandria with its legendary lighthouse and Cairo, which he described as the mother of all cities. He was captivated by the pyramids and the Nile River. Already, his wanderlust was growing. He wasn't just a pilgrim anymore. He was an explorer. After reaching Mecca and completing his Hajj, he didn't turn back. The world was calling. Instead of heading home, he decided to explore the vast lands of the Ilkhanate, a Mongol empire that covered Persia and modern-day Iraq. He visited Baghdad, once the glorious capital of the Abbasid Caliphate, though it was still recovering from the Mongol invasion. He marveled at its past glory and met with scholars and mystics, absorbing knowledge wherever he went. From there, his journeys become even more incredible. He sailed down the East African coast, visiting the Swahili city-states. He described the thriving port of Mogadishu in Somalia, amazed by the wealth of its merchants. He sailed to Kilwa in modern-day Tanzania, which he called one of the most beautiful and well-constructed towns he had ever seen. He was documenting a world of trade and culture that few in his homeland knew about. But Ibn Battuta was just getting warmed up. His next destination was India. To get there, he took a roundabout route through Anatolia, or modern-day Turkey. He was impressed by the hospitality of the Turkish people. He then crossed the Black Sea and journeyed into the lands of the Golden Horde, another Mongol Khanate. He even traveled with the caravan of a Byzantine princess all the way to Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. Here was a Muslim scholar walking the streets of the greatest Christian city in the world, marveling at the Hagia Sophia. After this detour, he finally turned his sights towards India. He crossed the treacherous mountains of Afghanistan, arriving in the Delhi Sultanate. The ruler at the time was Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq, a man known for his generosity, but also his extreme and often violent temper. The Sultan was always looking for foreign scholars and officials to help run his massive empire. Seeing an opportunity, Ibn Battuta, with his legal training, presented himself at court. The Sultan was impressed and appointed him as a Qadi or judge. For several years, Ibn Battuta lived a life of luxury in Delhi. He had a huge salary, servants, and a prominent position. But living under the unpredictable Sultan was like walking on a tightrope. One day you could be showered with gold. The next, you could be executed for a minor offense. Ibn Battuta saw both sides of this. After a while, he grew tired of the court politics and the constant fear. He finally got his chance to leave when the Sultan decided to send an embassy to the Yuan dynasty in China, ruled by the Mongols. And who did he choose to lead it? None other than Ibn Battuta. This was his ticket out of Delhi. The journey to China, however, was a complete disaster. His caravan was attacked by rebels just outside Delhi. He was robbed, stripped of his clothes, and almost lost his life. He managed to escape and regroup, but that was just the start of his bad luck. When he finally reached the coast to set sail for China, a sudden storm came. The ship carrying all the royal gifts for the Chinese emperor sank right before his eyes. The ship he was supposed to be on sailed without him and was later lost at sea. Stranded, broke, and fearing the wrath of the Sultan if he returned to Delhi empty-handed, Ibn Battuta was in a tough spot. But did he give up and go home? Of course not. He decided to continue his travels, this time as a private citizen. He found passage to a place he'd heard incredible stories about, the Maldives. The Maldives Islands were a paradise. He was enchanted by the swaying coconut palms, the white sandy beaches, and the clear blue water. The society was matrilineal, which was fascinating to him. And once again, his reputation as a learned judge preceded him. The rulers convinced him to stay on as their chief judge. He tried to implement stricter Islamic laws, which didn't always go over well with the laid-back islanders. He even married into the royal family. But local politics got complicated, and after about 9 months, he decided it was time to move on. His next stop was Sri Lanka, where he climbed the famous Adam's Peak, a sacred site for Buddhists, Hindus, and Muslims alike. Then, he finally resumed his original mission, to get to China. He sailed through Southeast Asia, visiting Sumatra, before at last arriving at the bustling port of Chuanzhou in China. He was amazed by China. He praised its craftsmanship, especially the porcelain. He noted the use of paper money, the well-organized cities, and the safety of the roads. He traveled as far as Beijing, or Khanbalik as it was known then, and was a guest at the Mongol court. After exploring China, he finally decided it was time to go home. The journey back was long, but less eventful than his journey out. He sailed back through the Indian Ocean, revisited Persia and Syria, and made one last pilgrimage to Mecca. As he traveled, he heard news of the Black Death, the devastating plague that was sweeping across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. He saw its effects firsthand, witnessing cities full of death and despair. It was a somber end to his grand tour. In 1349, nearly a quarter of a century after he left, Ibn Battuta finally returned to his hometown of Tangier, Morocco. He found that both of his parents had passed away years ago. He had outlived so many of the people he knew, but his adventures weren't over yet. He still had 2 more trips in him. He traveled to Al-Andalus, the Muslim-ruled part of Spain, to help defend the coast against a Christian attack. And then, he embarked on what might have been his most challenging journey of all, crossing the Sahara Desert. He joined a camel caravan and traveled for months across the vast, empty expanse to visit the Mali Empire, one of the wealthiest empires in the world at the time, famous for its gold. He met the legendary ruler, Mansa Suleiman, and documented the rich culture of Timbuktu and other cities along the Niger River. Finally, in 1354, at the age of 50, Ibn Battuta returned to Morocco for good. By now, his travels had covered an astonishing 75,000 miles or 120,000 kilometers. That's nearly 3 times the circumference of the Earth. He had visited the equivalent of 44 modern-day countries. For comparison, Marco Polo's famous journey was less than half that distance. The Sultan of Morocco heard about his incredible adventures and was fascinated. He commanded Ibn Battuta to dictate his story to a scholar named Ibn Juzay. For months, the two sat together, with Ibn Battuta recounting his life's journey. The result was a book titled A Gift to Those Who Contemplate the Wonders of Cities and the Marvels of Traveling, better known simply as the Rihla, or the Travels. This book is our window into his world. It's a treasure trove of information about the 14th century Islamic world and beyond. He described people, politics, food, customs, and geography in vivid detail. Now, historians do point out that he probably embellished some stories and may have even borrowed descriptions of places he didn't personally visit, like the Bulgar region in Russia. But the vast majority of his account is considered a unique and invaluable historical record. After dictating his story, Ibn Battuta lived out the rest of his life quietly, working as a judge in a small Moroccan town. He passed away around 1368. For centuries, his work was largely forgotten outside the Arab world. But in the 19th century, it was rediscovered and translated, and his reputation as the world's greatest traveler was cemented. So why does his story still resonate with us today? It's a story of boundless curiosity, incredible resilience, and a deep desire to see and understand the world. He wasn't a conqueror or a king. He was a scholar and an adventurer who connected diverse cultures simply by visiting them. He showed us a world that was incredibly interconnected, long before the internet or airplanes. His journey proves that a single human life can be an extraordinary adventure. So next time you're planning a trip, think of Ibn Battuta. You might not travel for 30 years across the Sahara on a camel, but his spirit of exploration can inspire us all to look beyond our own horizons. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing stories. See you in the next video.